We're here because free speech is under attack. We're here because people are being convinced that socialism works. We're here because people are being judged guilty until proven innocent. We are fighting back with facts. This is not a safe zone, so buckle up, Buttercup. This is the raw, naked truth.
Lower job numbers than expected, a possible UPS strike, a new Alzheimer's drug, and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. The Department of Justice plans to appeal a judge's order barring federal officials and agencies from communicating with social media companies about, quote, content containing protected free speech, unquote. The injunction, issued by U.S. District Judge Terry Doherty, is part of a lawsuit brought by Republican attorneys general from Missouri and Louisiana. The lawsuit accuses the Biden administration of trying to silence conservatives by pushing social media sites to remove information related to the COVID-19 pandemic. The DOJ's appeal would take the fight to the Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. United Parcel Service, UPS, moved closer to its first strike in 27 years after contract negotiations with the Teamsters Union fell apart on Wednesday. Both sides accused one another of walking away from talks. The existing contract expires at the end of July. Union workers want better working conditions and higher pay, and point to workers' efforts to maintain deliveries during the COVID-19 pandemic, which fueled big profits for the company. UPS, which delivers more than 20 million packages around the world per day, has the biggest unionized workforce of any company in America. A walkout could give rival FedEx an advantage that UPS would struggle to overcome. With Ukraine low on ammunition, the Biden administration is expected to announce on Friday that it will send the country cluster munitions as part of a weapons package worth $800 million. Cluster munitions contain multiple sub-munitions called bomblets and are banned in more than 100 countries, including several U.S. allies, because they could harm civilians. Ukraine has been requesting cluster munitions for several months as the country continues its counteroffensive against Russia. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen leveled a forceful objection to China's measures aimed at foreign firms. Yellen is in Beijing on a high-stakes trip to smooth relations between the U.S. and China, but tension between the two nations has escalated. Yellen accused China of taking punitive action against American companies. The Chinese government recently detained 5 Chinese nationals working for an American consulting firm and imposed export controls on some critical minerals. We are still evaluating the impact of these actions, but they remind us of the importance of building resilient and diversified supply chains, Yellen said. The Biden administration has been trying to restrict China's access to semiconductor components and kneecap the country's tech development. The Food and Drug Administration on Thursday gave full approval to Leqembi, a drug that can slow the progression of Alzheimer's disease. While other drugs have been approved that target the symptoms of Alzheimer's, this is the first time the FDA has granted full regulatory approval to one meant to slow cognitive decline. Leqembi, made by the drug makers Eisai and Biogen, targets beta amyloid, a kind of protein in the brain believed to play a role in Alzheimer's disease. For the phase 3 clinical trial of the drug, 1,795 people with mild cognitive impairment, early stage Alzheimer's participated, and researchers found that over 18 months, progression of the disease slowed by 27%. This is not a cure, but it's a first step for hopefully more therapeutics in the future. Dr. Ronald Peterson, a neurologist at the Mayo Clinic, told NBC News. Leqembi could cause serious side effects, including brain swelling and hemorrhage, and the drug will come with a boxed warning. U.S. employers added 209,000 jobs in June, the lowest number since 2020, but still a sign that the Federal Reserve will continue on its rate tightening cycle this year and perhaps into early 2024. While the additions build on the 339,000 positions created in May, which was the lowest since March, the data may still present a conundrum to policymakers who continue to wrestle with consumer inflation of 4%, twice the Fed's preferred level. The unemployment rate held steady at 3.6%. A separate report released Thursday showed that job openings dropped to 9.8 million at the end of May. While that marks a decline from the previous month, it remains abnormally high. Before the COVID-19 pandemic began in early 2020, the highest on record was 7.6 million. There are still roughly 1.6 jobs per unemployed American. That's the Raw Naked Truth. You can catch every episode of the Raw Naked Truth at xvadio.com/podcasts, the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Audible, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.